He's running through the barrier as we speak.
Okay, we'll put him down as a Dr. Colin Stiles.
Yep.
David Taylor.
Present. Hang on, Rob.
Dr. Les Sterling.
Present.
Keith Tupper.
Present.
Dr. Livio Tursik.
Yeah.
Andy Walsh, I think, is an apology.
Yes, that's true. There's one over there.
The Very Reverend Ian Williamson.
Present.
Ted Beard.
Yeah, stay there, Will. Stay there, Will.
Is Ted here?
Yes.
Yes, right. Got Ted. That's it, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. We'll call on our Secretary, Dr. Stiles, for his report. You've got one.
Oh, look, nothing much to add. Looking forward to hear Ted Brear and numbers are stable and the book club's continuing on.
Good. Excellent. Just a reminder too, we've got 11 starters for the B Division 1.5 hour tour on the 29th. It was the 27th, but the people who running the show said we couldn't do that date, so it's the 29th of August. So if there's a change in the date, so if you're keen to come along, you change your mind and such, just let me know and I can organise it. In Kevin and Ryan's absence, I don't think we'll have a treasurer's report today. Would be right? Yep. Okay. We'll carry that over next time. Dr. Ratton.
Good morning.
Good morning.
A good month. I haven't had any calls from anybody in dire trouble. I've spoken to a few people who have trouble with mobility. I've got one thing to report. A gentleman named John Sullivan died. He joined the club in November '93 and resigned in April 2005 to seek greener pastures, I think, down on the peninsula. So probably the only people who would remember him would be Reg Jackson and I. Yeah, he's gone to the Brothers Club in the Sky.
He's across the door.
That's it.
Okay.
Now, may I put in a word for the Christmas function?
Yep.
At Ballara on the 27th of November. There is a sheet of paper on that table there. Would you please put your names down so that we know how many people might be coming from this club?
Okay.
It'll be a great function.
Yeah.
When do you want us to pay, Graham?
I'll let you know later.
Yeah. It will be a great function if last year is any benchmark to go by. It was terrific. So encourage everybody, if you've got a spare day, you want to come along because you'll have a good time. It's good. Mr. Papworth, you got anything to say this morning? Nothing to say. Good. Okay. All right. That leads us on to Members' Corner. And we'll invite Dr. Stiles to invite our member Ted, who's going to make a presentation this morning. So thanks, Paul.
Okay, I'll get this to go.
And I can return serve with this.
Just pop it over to me down there. Cut, thanks. Just to go. Just a little pause, folks, as we get the work before. Power. Okay, is this in?
It takes a moment. Just press power.
What's that? Let's just see.
It doesn't.
Well, you have to be flexible.
Just make sure this is connected up to there. White is connected to there, to there, to there, to there. That's on. That's on. Okay. Hang on, this is it.
Set up earlier. You had it on before. Now you've turned it off.
That's true.
You've turned everything off now.
That's working. Is this working? That's working. That's working. Now, there's a faulty, the end socket over there is faulty. And that's why it didn't work like this. Abracadabra.
You had it going before, no problem.
True. Just be a little patient. Okay, we got this.
It's coming on now.
Okay.
There you go.
Just a minute, we got it. Let's turn this off.
It doesn't come on immediately.
That's good.
It's mixed.
Yeah, boost up.
Now, is that legible for everybody?
Yeah, that's good.
Bit of an angle.
Oh dear, okay. Now, I won't solve all of that in a blink. Thank you. We just have the lights down. You know how to do that?
Yeah, front door.
I'll just turn these lights down.
Yeah. The village I'm talking about. We get one every now and again. I don't know whether it's because they're working down there on the Rosanna Road, the new extension of the ring road.
Everyone just welcome Laurie Rose, a guest here today. Okay, good to see you, Laurie. You know that. Now, I'll just. Here we are. I'm introducing Ted Brear, and I can see him over there. And Ted's been thinking about this topic for about 30 years or so. So it's a mature aspect of his thinking. And it's about improving I should do up here. I'll put that in. It's about improving the understanding of public written matter by the formatting of it. Bruce and myself provided minor help with the slides, but the rest of it's Ted's idea. And I give you commentary from the Australian government. And their aim is to ensure that information access laws, policies and practices are modern and appropriate for the digital age, including a simpler and more coherent framework for managing and accessing government information. This is the current policy. This is Ted's thinking over 30 years. Ted, we welcome your talk. We'll just mic you up a bit so they can hear you. Be careful coming down here with this many-headed hydra of cables.
You need to go for tape. Take it down.
So what, just put this on here.
Constance in it, and they have gaffer tape, it's a big white
Yeah,
about
put it
that
down
wide, and stick it down over the top of the house. Underneath, so you don't put that under it. They used to use yards and
I'll just make it a bit more audible.
rolls and rolls over a couple of small rolls that use one day.
Oh, no, this produces this light, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'll change that for you.
Huh?
That's right.
That's for Will. This is for Will. Okay?
Yeah,
What?
that's for Will.
The will.
This is Will Semler can now hear you.
Yes, I can have you.
That's his microphone.
The one is the technology.
Okay, and do I say next?
Yeah, you say next and I do it.
All right, that's good.
Oh, yes.
Okay. And that's, that's very good.
Can you hear him?
Yeah.
Okay, fire away.
Everybody hear me? I won't be long. I see people are waiting to say what they've got to say. I've just got a half a page here that I'll use to guide me through this. That's sort of an attempt to present the gist of the matter. and it's worth looking at, I think, as I talk. Now, in 1971, the International British and Australian Standards calling for dates written in figures to be put in year-month-day order, which is known as the descending order in the trade, were introduced and endorsed by several countries. I think about 25 countries other than those who adopted the standard, which were the International British and Australian ones. Now, as far as I know, Australia's version of the standard has received little attention. And many of those who knew about it seemed to see it as some sort of party trick, something to chuckle about, particularly my kids, which I found annoying, but anyway, there's nothing I could do about it. And perhaps they need to think again and think bigger. Which is what the ABC asks us to do every couple of hours of the day. So my thinking bigger has led me to think that at a time when much of Australia is said to be struggling to read well enough, year-month-day dating standards may well provide a way to improve matters by making the formatting of Australia's calendar, and this is the sort of crux of the thing, by making the formatting of Australia's calendar the template for the formatting of a wide range of public reading matter. In the samples, in the examples I've given, that extends from the calendar to a building specification. I was an architect for a while, and the Bible, the Australian Constitution, and so on. The material you're about to be shown is an attempt to illustrate what I'm suggesting is what might be called, in what might be called a pictorial way. It may help those who find my suggestion arcane, as Philip Adams did, incomprehensible, chilling, and deeply disturbing, as Barry Jones did. And more to come. The light's not good. As Barry Jones did. Or something I might that I might take up with the French, as Richard McGarvey suggested. So these people I expected more of, but anyway, they've got their reasons for those responses. I thank Bruce and Colin for meeting, for assisting me to put it together in a progress-friendly style, and I look forward to receiving and considering any comment the well-meaning would like to make.
Ted, do you want to look at some of the illustrations you had
here?
Yeah,
It's time for that now. Right. Okay. Well, that's the first. The calendar, I think, seems to me to be basic to language, and our language in particular. I don't know about other languages. That's an attempt that if the calendar could be put on one page, which it can't, of course, that would be the top left-hand corner, and it's like that because it has to be to get it to that size. They're taken from flip charts that I made, thinking that they would suffice, but I'm told that they're old school and not appropriate for a gathering such as this. So that's what the standards call for. With one small exception, you can put a dash between every second numeral on the thing if you wish. They're the two alternatives. That's the one I prefer for reasons that are outlined in a larger document, which I've got copies of there, which some of you might like to take away and have a look at, and that will explain why I've made that choice. So, any questions on that? No. Next one, yeah. What do? You do the pressing, right. There's the Bible. Barry Jones was, I think, upset by the idea that anybody should fool around with the Bible, but especially me, and that might have prompted his remarks. I haven't had a chance to point out to him that you may know it, that the people in Cambridge have already produced a Bible with no numerals in it at all, because they think it's from the arts faculty, one of the arts faculties over there, and they felt that numbers spoil the Bible as a piece of prose. So I got it at home. My wife found it in an op shop or something. They were how she contributed to my thinking about this. She didn't have anything to say, but she used to pick up these things, which are quite useful. Next one is the Australian Constitution. I just copied this out of the Constitution as best I could understand the Constitution. I suppose if you were to tackle the Constitution and reformat it, you'd do it. You do the whole of the law, which would take a while to happen, I suppose. But it seems a huge task, but when people tell me that it's a huge task and not worth thinking about, I just say AI. I can't use or it's AI, isn't it? I think it's AI. AI can do all things. And I can imagine that we could all go to bed one night and wake up with all the law rewritten, except that the lawyers might be too happy about it, I don't know. But so that's the Constitution. Another thing that could be tackled is the racing guide. I've always the idea of having the Constitution and the racing guides all formatted in the same way appeals to me. My father had little education. But because the racing guides are formatted in the same way, or mostly the same way, he could read those with no trouble at all, even though he would be included in the list of those who are perhaps not able to read as well as they should. So that's the racing guide. I think. No, that's not the racing guide, is it?
No, that's the building.
You've moved on, have
Yes,
you?
I have.
Oh, right, okay. Well, so that's the building specification. This is the last of the slides. I think building specifications need tidying up a lot. I was brought up where I worked, hearing day after day that put everything on the drawings because nobody can read the specifications. And sometimes the specifications are this big and seems to have gotten worse to me over the years. So that's about all I want to say at this point. And if that's,
what benefit would be achieved from this?
I wouldn't like to say. I think it's beyond. It's like sort of saying who's God or something. Or I just don't know where it would end. And I'm not saying. And it's very important to stress that I'm suggesting something. I'm not proposing anything. I haven't got the competence to do that, and I don't know whether anybody has. But I think it's worth talking about, and people other than Barry Jones and co have said they think so. Peter McIntyre, whom some of you may know, thought it ought to be taken up by all universities, and he asked Evan Walker to do that for him when he was Dean of the faculty at Melbourne, but Evan got ill later on and died, so it never happened. But architects are defensive of their present position, as most professions are, I think, and the last thing they want is for someone like me to come along and say, well, you've got to go about your work in a different way. So what I would look forward to many benefits, some of which I couldn't even dream of, I don't think, at this point.
Well done.
So are you happy with that? Or?
Oh, look, I think it's forward thinking.
Oh, is it all right?
So I am very impressed. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and that might explain why there's nobody much, who responds. Because maybe
You're ahead of them.
I wouldn't like to say that, but sometimes in my worst moment, it tends to seem like
Congratulations. That was a good talk.
Thank you. Good. Well, I hope I haven't wasted time. Right.
Take this. No.
Well, good.
We're going to de-road you, monsieur. You've been de-roaded.
Well done, Chief.
All right. Good. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything particular that's going to help me back a winner or pick a winner of the racing guide. That's always a welcome innovation. All right, we'll just have a short break.
Got a sense on.
Thing back,
You got a sense on. Sure.
Excellent.
Okay, good.
We've got a sing song.
Sing song.
Need the thing back. No, we've got Will's.
Oh yes, I know. It's just walked off. We'll bring it back.
We're just going to We'll just pass the songbooks around.
It's up there. Okay, thank you. I just thought it might have walked off. I thought it may have walked off.
Sitting there waiting for the next.
I only said you might be on because everyone's in here. He doesn't know that. Everyone got a book? You got a book? All got a book? Okay, Kevin's asked me to stand in for him. He's up at the Sunshine Coast. So our first item is cruising down the river, number 16. Give us an intro, Jeff.
Cruising down the river on a Sunday afternoon, with the sun above, waiting for the moon. The old accordion playing a sentimental tune. Cruising down the river on a Sunday afternoon. Sing along a gentle street refrain. The winds around will make a sound like softly falling rain. The two of us together will play the hallelujah. Cruising down the river on a Sunday afternoon.
23, the Happy Wanderer. We used to sing this at school. Happy Wanderer.
A couple of days ago.
The school of Stanford. Why do you go there?
I love to go wandering along the mountain trail, and as I go, I love to sing my song on my back. Bell ring, bell rock, bell ring, bell rock, bell ring, bell rock.
number 30.
Number
Lily
30.
Marley.
Oh, Lily. A bit of French.
Very famous, very famous.
Underneath the lantern by the barricade, darling, I remember the way you used to wait. Was there that you whispered tenderly that you loved me, you'll always be my lily of the land, like my own Lily Marley. Time of the waterfall, time for us to part. Darling, I caress you and precious in my heart. And then if the far off flames of light, I hold you tight, we kiss goodnight, my lily of the land, like my own Lily Marley. Orders come for sailing somewhere over there. All confined to barracks was more than I could bear. I knew you were waiting in the street. I heard your feet, I could not meet. My lily of the land, like my own Lily Marley.
Thanks, Ben.
Rudy.
We'll get the songbooks back and we'll just get ourselves organised with our speakers.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very true.
Thank you.
Right, we'll get us organised.
We're going to get the dreadful.
He's got it.
Come down here, we'll give it a go. It's lovely. It's very good to see you. So welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me.
No, it's got to watch out there. I just can't do something better here.
We've got well seen.
It's over there. It's on the turn.
Okay.
No, that's on the.
Oh, that's got to stay there, yeah.
Just a second. We'll see what happens.
Yes, it's all fine. That's all
Well, we just might turn this off.
Stop me here that I'm worried about. See, here he goes, they might be broken.
Yes.
Don't you think, Frank?
I wouldn't mind if they weren't broken.
I haven't got any, so it doesn't worry me.
Oh, you're lucky.
No, go at the moment.
Always put it on here. Joe, if you do mind if we keep the first one.
No, no.
Parents used to say, you should hear too much.
You're better than I am.
I don't know. When you put it.
No, yeah. I have total faith.
Oh, no. Don't have total faith. Don't have total faith.
Somebody's come back online watching us.
Sorry?
Somebody was watching and they went offline during the things and come back.
Was that? No, it might have been Gary.
That's our first one.
Gary, yeah, when I lived up on Upper Holberg Road. the deepest.
Oh, this has to be turned on because it turns on.
Gary.
Oh, very well.
It turns itself up after a period of time.
You didn't answer my question. Yes, you did.
I wonder if you
It takes just leaving cold. It takes a bit of
I do understand it. I'm looking to see if light's coming out.
mine was different.
During the club, I've been dentists and doctors for the last 2 weeks. Going to Druggy Grove.
Yes, but we were different.
There are a couple of us.
Oh, yeah. My diabetes going to insulin now. I've started on
Ours was
insulin.
different because it was refugee foreign adoption order.
Yeah, I know.
Now we're
No,
going
no, we just don't. I just
Trying to get a level for me to use. Oh, yeah. Got plenty of money.
so anyway,
They're worth a lot of money, so I don't know whether they will.
that probably might be
pretty much there.
yes, because
Bruce has got a camera.
I just oh, I see what you're
That'd be the way to go.
Oh, you've got to be joking. Oh.
All that little conversation is going to everybody.
I'll tell you what, they're all out to make money now, that's what it is. It's all making money. They're all making money.
Hello. Bruce's microphone. Okay.
A motorcycle yesterday. I went up Downey Road to Warren Road. And we've been out to the out for lunch. And this way come down the right he probably he looked about that size too. I wound the window down, I give him a serve and a half.
We can turn off the main lights and there's a spotlight there. You've got no
I just got
choice.
to know it's very
Yes. Yes.
There you go.
Is that right?
You're okay?
Yes, I'm great, David, thanks.
Okay. We're ready, guys? Ready? Our guest speaker this morning is Glenys Gayfer, OAM. Glenys recently was awarded an OAM for her work as founder and president of Kadasig Aid and Development, which is a voluntary group in Australia which works to improve the lives of children and families in the Philippines. And Glenys is going to tell us about how that arose, how she got involved with the Philippines and in this aid and development work. It's interesting just to reflect on the Philippines. I first went to the Philippines in early 1971, and I thought I'd arrived on another planet because martial law was in force, which meant there was a curfew from midnight to 6 a.m. I had never seen so many guns in all my life. It was unbelievable. And of course, Ferdinand Marcos was the president. But it's interesting, latest information shows a rising connection between the Philippines and Australia. A lot of Filipinos are coming to Australia, a lot working in the health and aged care area, and it's turning out to be a major tourist destination for Australians. In fact, they reckon it might overtake Bali before too long as a tourist destination for Australians. So there's a close connection developing, or getting closer, between Australia and the Philippines. And I don't know whether you guys, my contact with Filipinos has been, they're just unbelievable people, so friendly and so musical, and they love it. They love a good time. So Glenys is going to tell us about her involvement with them and what she's been doing, and I think you'll find it very interesting. Thanks, Glenys.
Thanks, David, very much. I have to say, I absolutely agree with everything you say about Filipinos. Hence where I come from. My deep love affair of the Philippines began in 1978 when my late husband Bill and I went to the Philippines for a business trip and met with an Australian couple living there as they had a manufacturing business. They had just adopted a little girl through the Good Shepherd Sisters. The time was post-Vietnam War, and I think some of you certainly will remember there are a lot of children airlifted out of Vietnam post-war, and there was quite a lot of discussion around whether that was the right thing or the wrong thing. I have to say from my own personal experience, it was the right thing. The kids don't get any culture in an orphanage. It's a matter of survival for the children. We returned to the Philippines in March 1979 as we were wanting to have a family through adoption. And I clarified the laws of here and over in the Philippines, and with the Good Shepherd Sisters, making sure that everything was legal, but because no one here would help us. No social worker, the lawyer wouldn't sign our documents and things. It was a really tough time for us. We were assessed by the Good Shepherd Sisters in the Philippines and the court social worker. Then I lived in Manila for 3.5 months to go through all the requirements and to be granted an adoption order by the court for the adoption of our babies. We were so blessed. We had a little girl 11 months, a little boy 8 months. So wow, it was sort of no children to 2 babies all at once. It was an amazing time. But we had to stay there to go through the legal formalities, which was fine. 6 years later, in 1985, attitudes had changed here, thankfully, because there are and still, despite what people tell you, there are still children needing a family. We were assessed at this time by the Victorian government and were approved for a boy or girl 0 to 2 years. We were placed with a boy 8 weeks. As David said, it was during martial law. It was a challenging time for me as a foreigner, and boy was I on a learning curve. I was on a massive learning curve. There were complications sorting out the adoption with authorities, and as you would know, corruption is massive over there. It is just horrific. I lived there for just over 5 months, and I lived as a Filipino, whereas the first time I was there, I lived with foreigners. This time I lived as a Filipino with Filipinos, and that's where my heart just became full. It was during that time I learnt such a great deal in that 5 months about the country, the people, the political system, and the living conditions of many. Because the Good Shepherd Sisters work really on grassroots work with women and children, so that is where my connection came. I was staggered, absolutely staggered at the massive gap there was, and sadly still is, the abject poverty, unbelievable wealth to, from abject poverty to unbelievable wealth. It's horrific. I was in total shock. Returning home with our son, I had fallen in love with the country and the people. I promised myself to give my all to make the process for adoptive parents right and easier, and make sure they were informed and prepared to travel to the Philippines. That took up the next 21 years. I greatly enjoyed all that, although there were frustrations, as you can imagine, trying to organise things. I travelled to the Philippines regularly, meeting with child caring agencies and government authorities, along with our Australian authorities. The program with the Philippines was to place a child in need with a family was a wonderful and very positive thing. And it's not just the Philippines. I also had contact with India and Thailand and set up the Chinese program, and Taiwan and Korea. I've got a Korean grandson. So it was really important that these parents were well prepared and that the legal aspects of the child being available for adoption was also in the country. Whilst in the Philippines in 1985, during my time with the Good Shepherd Sisters, I was asked if I could raise funds when I returned to Australia to build a nipa hut, a little bamboo hut. You've seen the little bamboo huts throughout Asia, for a kinder for children. Oh, this was a whole new thing for me. I didn't really know too much about this and I didn't know how to do it, but I was going to give it a go. So off I go. And we raised the funds, and that was the beginning of my journey in another direction. It was the first time I was aware that I could do such things. I could give it a go and try and make a difference and channel my enthusiasm. We then continued to raise funds to assist the Good Shepherd Sisters for children needing a family. After a visit in 1988 and again in 1989, I set up an educational sponsorship program on the island of Cebu with the Good Shepherd Sisters. We started with a family of 6 orphans and a little mountain girl that I found on the street. She was collecting wood, carrying wood, a little gorgeous little thing with thongs 10 times size for her feet. And I have learned, and I deeply believe, that education is definitely a way out of poverty. I've seen it and it has taken place. There's no doubt. I've seen it over the years. Hence the importance of a sponsorship program, and this is falling down. A sponsorship program really does make a difference. And it's about empowerment of the young people and the parents. So in 2006, I left the Intercountry Group to set up Kadasig Aid and Development, taking over a program run by the Good Shepherd Sisters. Kadasig is a Cebuano word. Their main language is Tagalog, but they have a lot of dialects, and of course in Cebu it's Cebuano. So we sat together and put our heads together and off we went. From assisting families in Cebu City, our wonderful executive director and head social worker decided to add the province of Brear. I don't know if anyone knows the Philippines or Cebu. It's an island in the middle, Visayas area, but the island of Cebu is a little skinny island, so it's down southwest. As it was the poorest province in the whole of the Philippines. Even today, we are the only NGO in the province. Slowly, our colleagues met with authorities and different barangay. Different barangay. A barangay is like a suburb. Leaders within the province. More and more children were added to the sponsorship program. And today we have around 200 families, because they're fluctuating. They graduate and they leave, or they leave the area, and so it's sort of a bit fluid. We pay for their education, their school. The sponsorship pays for education. Their books. You don't have to pay to go to school, but you pay for the books and their projects. Some of them need transport money. Some of them need food as well. We have a program that's really open. People can go and visit their sponsor child, as long as you have a working with children and you have a clearance through the committee here and the committee over in Cebu. Because we like people to understand and experience what we experience and what it's about. Our sponsorship covers all those things that I've mentioned. And we keep a little bit for medical, because would you believe they can't even afford band-aids or bandages, which is something that they either buy or we send over in a balik barn box. And I'm glad to say, and I'm delighted, and still hear from a lot of graduates going way back for the last 19, 20 years, As time went by, we developed more programs. The children in their sponsorship, they have to write a letter. It has to be their letter, their writing, even if it's a folk picture. They draw, you know, this little boy's done his flag and himself. They love doing it. We send the paper and we send the pencils as well. Developing livelihood programs with each community allowed those involved to earn a small income. This includes raising piglets, chickens, baking bread and banana muffins, pechi, growing things like bananas, long beans, eggplant. They're quite resourceful. They just need the help to, you know, get it going, and then they'll maintain it. And then mung beans is another new program. And we've now got sewing machines going over to, again, we're going to train a number of women to sew so that they can make things and sell them. So we're sending overlockers and ordinary machines. We really have developed community. You know, the community, what the women do is just amazing. They're doing all the weeding, the planting, the digging the holes for fences and for electricity poles. They've done all that during my time. We were fortunate in 2010 to raise funds to purchase some land in the barangay of Patupat, where we set up a kinda, and families were assessed to make their home on the land. All 98% of our families are squatters, which means the owner can come along at any time of the day, and get rid of them, move them off. I've seen it. Some guy came along with a grader and took out a whole lot of houses, and I just stood there, I couldn't believe it. We assessed them to come in, and they've now got their own little piece of land, with their own name, which gives them safety, and most importantly, it's giving the children safety, because living as a squatter is very dangerous. The opportunity came our way to purchase more land in Bullock. It's a large block. Like Patupat, it is growing. Following Super Typhoon Odette, I don't know if anyone remembers this, you may know, the Super Typhoon in 2021, 90% of our families lost their houses because they're knee parts, and they're not really strong to stand up to a typhoon, which, believe me, I've been in them, they are terrible. So with this in mind, we made a decision to assist somehow, some way, to make sturdier housing. Oh, sorry, I didn't move it quickly enough, but this is medical supplies. This is a young boy, he had cataracts, and you can see now and he's at school and doing well. Ranillo, that's Virginia's up the back there, he's a young man, there was a family dispute and someone threw acid in his eye. So it keeps us pretty busy coping with all these issues. Where am I up to? We're now doing housing that is stronger, made of hollow blocks, you know, like the Besser blocks, you know our Besser blocks, they call them hollow blocks, and men make them, so they earn an income from making them, then they can use them, and also they use hardy boards for the walls because they're stronger, they don't rot when they get wet, so it's been a really good program. We're attaching to the roof, we're attaching gutters for water tanks. We have a program for putting water tanks up. I mean, there's plenty of water in the Philippines, as you probably know, it's quite torrential. But to catch it's another thing. So that's our program at the moment, getting water tanks attached to roofs and also septic toilets. Each family has a certificate of ownership of their land. And they're delighted. I've seen them so excited, and the kids are so thrilled to have something that they're safe. We send over balikbayan boxes, they're called. They're friendship boxes that Filipinos around the world send over, and we send aid, stationery. They're desperate for stationery. You know, one of the main things they need, toothpaste, toothbrush, soap, the very, very basics of life. It's hard to understand sometimes. I look down and I think, gosh, they're the basics that we take for granted, that they do not have them at all. That on this left-hand side is a very, very typical house. Sorry, am I in the way? No. very typical house of our families, the squatters. Because what they've got to do when the owner says, okay, everybody out, they've got to pack all that up. So what we're doing is building there. You see the hollow blocks on the bottom, say third, and the zinc roof, we're putting gutters on and the water tanks will attach. But it all takes time and money and effort. But it's a great program. We have a friendship school program, a program where I went to, it was over I've just done my 30th visit to the Philippines, and going way back, I went to a school, after I'd been to a school here, and I just stood there, I was mortified at how little the children had. There were about 5 coloured pencils amongst 50 kids, and it was really incredible. It was quite a shock. So we send over stationery, they really need it, and so do the friendship schools. So the kids in the Philippines can learn about Australia, and Australian children learn about their Filipino friends. And it has been a wonderful program, and it's still going very, very well. We've got 8 schools at the moment as a friendship school. In 2009, the first group of caring Australians visited the Philippines and visited Kadasig programs and several children's homes. We also are involved with children that have been trafficked through Father Shay Cullen and the Good Shepherd Sisters. And there have been 13 trips to the Philippines by groups for a social outreach so people could learn about a developing nation. There are a number of people who have done a number of trips. We focus on assisting the poorest families. The majority live hand to mouth. And I really found that really hard in the very early days. You know, they didn't have any money for dinner that night, so they were out there doing whatever they could. And they don't have bank accounts or anything. It's living day to day. It's really hard to get your head around that, you know, when you're here from Australia. So it took quite some time. There is no or very minor assistance from the government. A bit like our government, they're bankrupt. No pensions, and as many men don't have permanent employment, there is no retirement savings. There is no pensions available for the general public. There are for government employees. Government and large organisations and banks and things like that do have superannuation, but they're above a level very different to our beautiful families. As I say, I've travelled to the Philippines 30 times, lived there for 5.5 months where I believe I was meant to be able to understand the people, live with the people, and now I work with the people, which is just the greatest privilege for me, and I love them all dearly. The Filipino people and the Filipino ways are very much part of me. Half my heart is Filipino. I look forward to keep on developing more programs and assisting more families. So just here it does tell you, it's a summary, and I can just say that it has been a privilege. It has to have my personal story to go on to how we all developed as an organisation. Everybody is a volunteer. 100% of our money that we're given goes, sponsorship and everything, goes over. So I hope that you can see the many needs and understand the issues of intercountry adoption and also the need of our beautiful families and children in a developing nation. And it's not just the Philippines, but I just know the Philippines really well and I do love it. So thank you for having me, and salamat po.
Thanks, Glenys. I meant to mention earlier that we also welcome with Glenys Ros Boyd and Virginia Jackson, who have come along, and they're very welcome. The three of them are going to stay for lunch with us. Ros is involved with Montmorency programs. Yeah, so she's very familiar with the progress scheme. Thanks, Glenys. I mean, the inter-country adoptions is interesting because on the county court we did virtually all the adoptions, and there was a number of us that didn't. And it was something that I was interested in, so I was one of the judges. And most of the adoptions we were doing were inter-country because there were few few adoptions taking place within Australia for Australian children, and a big range of countries for inter-country adoptions. I think my greatest experience in relation to adoptions was dealing with the adoption of triplets.
Wow.
They were local,
Okay.
but triplets, which was an incredible thing to be involved in. So, guys, John.
Thanks for your excellent presentation. Glenys, can I just ask you, if the members here were inclined to make a financial contribution or to sponsor a child, how would they do that?
Contact me.
Okay, and your details can be left with David or?
Yeah, I'll leave it with David too.
Okay.
And I don't know if any of us are on Facebook, but we're on Facebook. We do have a website.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, being volunteers, the girl that does our website has been away, and then now she's just got married. So we'll be updated. We're not really up to date, but that's what you do when you're volunteers, isn't it? Yeah. You know, you just do your very best.
What I'll do is I've got Glenys's email address, and I'll provide that to Bruce, and Bruce can incorporate that in.
The cost, it's $280 a year, and you can pay annually or 6 monthly.
Yeah.
And then we have a camp every year, and for the kids. And it's usually in May and June. We ask if someone could pay $40 to send their child to camp. It's a wonderful camp. It's not like our kids do. It's more for our children to get a break from their jobs. Every child has to go down the hill and get the water, feed the carabao, feed the chickens, and help mum with the babies, because, you know, they've probably got 3, 4, 5 young children. You know what I mean? It's a break for them to get away. And the first time the kids go, some of them, they've never seen the beach before. So they sit in, it's gorgeous, they sit in the water and eat their meals because they just love being in the sea.
Can I ask you another question? Why would the landholders, typically, why would they kick them off the land? What would their excuse for doing that?
Oh, they don't need an excuse.
No, but why would they?
They might want to take it over themselves. They might have a relative who's coming from another province or getting married and wants to live nearby. But the time I saw it, I tell you, it was really shocking. It was my friend Sari store and her friends. It was down a road, and the grader just came along and went and took everything out. I don't think I've ever got over it. It was terrible when everyone's crying and it was awful. Well, no consideration for the people.
I couldn't get over it. You know, first time in Manila, the number of people who were squatters was unbelievable.
And still is, David.
You know, on public land, or there's a railway line going through. Well, then the people are squatting on we would call the railway reserve here. Well, they're squatting there with their little huts and all that sort of stuff. I mean,
some of the land's used for mining also. Yes.
Mining, yeah.
Yeah, it depends where in the province. Yeah.
Or something. They'll use it for mining.
Yes, that happened to Father Shay Cullen.
Not so much in our area.
No.
Is the trafficking still an issue?
It's a massive issue. It's something that we're on the peripheral of, aren't we, Virginia? We do certainly take an interest in it and are involved. It breaks my heart to say, but Cebu is the cyber sex capital of the world at the moment.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And I've experienced a lot of it firsthand.
Yeah.
It's quite shocking, quite terrible.
Yeah. Colin?
Can you tell us a little bit more about Kadasig? How many Australians are in it and how many Filipinos are in it?
Look, our setup is we've got a committee of 9 volunteers. Each one has their own part of Kadasig, like the aid person, the sponsorship person, etc. We're totally funded by Australians. It is all from our sponsorship and donations it's an Australian program. Over in the Philippines, we've got 7 staff. How many of them? 1, 2, 3. 5 up every day. Then all the mums, they're leaders. So they come and do a day. If you're working in their area, they're responsible for their area. So over there, if you call the leaders, we'd say part-time, there'd be about 10. And they get an honorarium for that. They do get paid for that.
And each year, what's your sort of budget overall for a year, roughly?
Now our budget, our sponsorship livelihood. I know I'm thinking in pesos. I can think. I'm thinking in pesos. It's about 2 million pesos. Divide by 36.
I can do that.
Help girls.
It's hundreds of thousands. That's good.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
And how many Filipinos are beneficiaries of what you're doing?
Lots.
Yeah.
Well, at the moment, there's 200 families that are here from probably grade 2 to last year at university. We've got about 6 students who are in their last year of university.
In the Philippines.
In the Philippines, yep, all in the Philippines. But we have other, like Ranillo that you saw, he wasn't he's our family now, but he wasn't. You know, if there's an emergency, like, you know, he had that, and there's another man that cut his leg and his foot, and our Emily rang me because the infection wouldn't go away. So they were going to amputate his leg so that the infection wouldn't spread. Like they were going to take out this is true, isn't it, Virginia? They were going to take out his 2 eyes to make sure that the infection didn't spread. It wasn't even an infection. So we hauled him out too. So we're very blessed to have an Australian nurse who lives over there who helps us.
Thank you.
Does that answer them adequately?
You've got a lot to tell us. That's a good start. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, guys? Yes.
Does your organisation have a working relationship with the Good Shepherd Sisters?
Yes.
Yeah.
In the Philippines?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yes. They do some seminars for our staff. And at Christmas, our staff goes to one of their places up in the mountain in Banawa. Yeah.
Yep.
Why are there so many orphans over there?
Oh, gosh, it's a challenging question, that. Going back to when we adopted in 1979 and 1985, it was very shameful for a single girl to be pregnant. And, you know, they were really looked down on. I mean, it was like that in Australia, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't say that there's anything shameful, but anyway.
Or Ireland.
Yes. It has changed a little, but it's the poverty. The people can't, you know, and quite a number of our children have been found in the rubbish. In fact, I met a lady I helped her adopt from Fiji 40 years ago. I met her the other day, which was just lovely. And I remembered her little girl from Fiji, she's an Indian girl, was found in a rubbish bin tied up with wire. So a lot of it is they can't afford. Thank God a lot of them went, even if to the government home, which is awful, but at least they're half safe there, or to the Good Shepherd Sisters. And there's a lot of other organisations. Poverty is a main driver. Poverty does awful things. And I think that's part of what's behind the cyber sex issue is poverty.
So they're against contraception over there because of the Catholic.
It's a strong Catholic nation. It took 9 years to get the legislation through to allow contraception to be given out. But they can have it, but they don't have supplies. Funny about that. So it's interesting, we're involved with another organisation, it's called Days for Girls. And that is giving reusable menstrual kits to women. But it was amazing talking to the women that they had no idea of their cycle as to when you get pregnant and when you don't. You did not have a clue.
It's also an issue with the men.
Yeah, true, Virginia. Yeah. It's an issue with the men about it as well. You know, it's a men and women, you know, it's a dual thing, of course. Yes, you're right. But it's very
Which comes
important.
back to your education, doesn't it?
Basic education. It truly is. And I have to say, I'm so blessed to have seen hundreds since we began of young people graduate. And I was saying, did I say to you, Virginia, I said to someone the other day, through all the young people that have gone through our education program, not one of them needs help now that they're married, because a lot of them are now married so long ago. Not one of them needs help through our sponsorship program. They're managing on their own. And I think that as it does say, education is the answer.
Anything else, guys? All right. Glenys, thanks very much. Really,
Thanks,
really an eye-opening presentation, and something that we can really reflect on and give some thought to in terms of providing perhaps some support to your wonderful organisation.
Thank you, and I just hope I've given you some information to understand what's going on beneath everything that we hear about. Thank you.
There you go.
Pardon?
There you go.
Better keep hold of that.
Yeah, keep on it.
I can't see where. Is that all right?
No trouble.
No worries.
I'll get that.
Just take the hands again.
Yeah. I have a feeling it was early today, and it
The junior is a committee, she's vice president. Yeah, just thank you.
Okay, I'll just reiterate David's comments and thank Glenys for her presentation today. It's a bit of an eye-opener for all of us, I guess. If not that, it just brings back to our the forefront of our minds the privileged life that we have, and maybe what we can go and do to help some other people if we've got the resources to go and help. So I encourage everybody here to have a think about it at least. Next meeting I think it's September 10. It's always the second Tuesday of the month, and next time I think this gentleman Leon Sinnott, I think his name is, he'll be presenting on behalf of Beyond Blue, I believe. So
yeah, he's going to speak about his own mental health journey, and also about what Beyond Blue is doing in relation to mental health. And I asked him if he could include some comment in relation to the mental health of young people.
Yep.
Which is clearly a major challenge that we've got at the moment.
Yep.
He'll be here in September.
Yep. All right. So we'll look forward to that.
And believe it or not, I don't think you'll be celebrating, but Mr. De Volpo will be here in October to talk about Carlton. When I spoke to him, he was contemplating the possibility of be talking about a Carlton premiership, but it looks pretty forlorn at the moment.
Too many people injured. Six.
I guess we'll believe it when we see it. Finally, just thanks, Rob. Just thank our presenters today, particularly Ted Brear. Thanks, Ted, for going to the trouble. What you've done today, excellent. Thank you, and to Colin and Bruce for assisting there, and also again once again put our hands together for Glenys and Ros and Virginia for coming along, and your excellent presentation. Thanks, Glenys. Thank you. That's it today. For those who are staying for lunch, I guess that'll be coming up shortly.